bitch. Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm here, Son John Tui.
This is Invasion of the Potty Snatchers. Let's get to it, motherfuckers. God, we're out of space. All right, Noel, we're back for another episode, and this time we're back with a fucking batshit crazy, trippy ass motherfucking movie from Richard Stanley, starring the batshit crazy, trippy motherfucker himself, Nicolas Cage, and that is Color Out of Space, based on the H.P. Lovecraft book. Noel, of all the Lovecraft stuff we've seen, this has to be one of the most visually impressive. What do you think, dude?
Oh my god, yeah. The answer is purple. The color out of space was
all shades of it, maybe a bit magenta,
yeah,
a bit lilac, a bit violet, whatever.
So
I know
thanks for
obviously
being
not
with
purple,
us.
seemingly.
Yeah, and at times light blue, which didn't really, pick a lane. But yeah, the color of space was purple, and that's the only thing I figured out. It's not fair for me to understand this film by the simple precedent of just having watched it twice.
Yeah,
I mean,
like 4 times since I saw it first. I love it.
He says, "I like the script. Alpaca punch."
That's definitely Nicolas Cage improvisation.
Yeah.
He's like, I get 4 of those or I walk.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I even noticed at the second watching how much there was just triangles in every scene. There was always a fucking triangle, triangle little thing in the back of the girl's hair at the start, and a triangular window in the attic upstairs. Just triangles everywhere, Really, really heavy. The precedent of it being this extraterrestrial meteorite, and they just got to have as much fun as they wanted with it because it was like
cool.
They just said, look, this is not on a periodic table. This is not of this world. This might need to be of this dimension. We're just going to do absolutely there. It's crashed. Now we're just going to do anything we want. Time stop being fluid. Physics stop being fluid. And perception stop being fluid. And they just got to have like a fever dream inside of it. And Nicolas Cage just got to be Nicolas Cage. I'm not even sure he knew he was in a horror film. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, because the alien life form was literally terraforming the area in which it crash landed. It was fucking beautiful. Like it was changing the perception of reality to the reality that how it would perceive.
As they understood it, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It was just so well done. The body horror elements, the visual styling, the fucking special effects. Not only special effects, but like the sound effects. The
physical effects.
Yeah, like it's just everything about the movie was fucking excellent. Like it's the kind of shit that I love in a movie. Like the way they, like every single time there was an awesome visual on the screen, they never took away from it with the wrong music backing it up, and that's so hard to do. And that's what I love about this movie, that like the visual impact was always so fucking heightened by the score. And that's one of the best things about Color of Space. Like, not only was it visually stunning and it looked like it checks all the boxes in terms of like eye candy and all this shit, but like the fucking score behind it was so fucking otherworldly, and it just really hit those notes constantly in terms of how impactful the scene was supposed to be, and in terms of the visual, the way visual conveyance, if that's a word. But like that's what I love about it, this, that the way it paired the visuals and the score. And some of my favorite science fiction movies and some of my favorite horror movies are movies that I consider to have done this very well. And I think Color of Space did it really fucking well,
Yeah. Color Space was both like absolutely insane, but there was this beautiful synchronicity to it as well. And it's a great film because it doesn't even have a bad guy, and something so high concept that it doesn't. This is just simply caught in the scope, in the wake of something that you couldn't possibly comprehend.
Yeah, you're dinosaurs now.
You're dying, yeah, exactly, and that's just all there is to it. There was no good guy versus bad guy, and even even as they began to change and stuff, it's just sad. They managed it was crazy, but there was still a heaviness to the film as well, especially with what happens to the mother and
the boy.
The boy, God, yeah. Oh God, I just loved it. You just sit there and you love when something's taken from its era, something Lovecrafty and brought to the new era and done well, but it also looked like it could have been done on a stage. It was so purple. It was so, it was so effervescent at times.
Yeah.
I just thought it was gorgeous, you kind of didn't know whose perspective you were looking at the film from. So it did everything in its storytelling and its visual aspects to keep you off balanced. And even at the end, the final girl, it's that hydrologist, hydrologist,
Yeah,
whatever he
yeah,
is.
the hydrologist. Yeah,
It's a hydrologist because that makes me think of hydraulics, but it is a hydrologist
yeah. I think that's what he
of
said he
water.
was.
Yeah, like water tables and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was
But he
studying
was the
studying the
guy, the
water.
last guy who was kind of running around back in the house with Nicolas Cage after already shooting him dead because again, time just stops mattering.
Yeah.
And she had kind of just accepted, or she had been there so long that her perceptions have started to change, and she just kind of became one with it. It's open, and man, it's open to interpretation. That's the thing. It's very. How does the film end? Well, that is actually an excellent question.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know?
man, that fucking scene with Tommy Chong when your man comes back and finds him later on in the movie, the surviving
Phenomenal.
dude. What's this? Can you get? Do you have IMDb? But what?
Yeah, sure, I'll get it up.
But when the guy that survives at the end, when he finds Tommy Chong, because remember he's been talking to him throughout the movie about the water table and stuff, because he lives out in the woods, and he's been camping out there while he's studying the water tables. And when he finds Tommy Chong later on, where he's just like fucking the energy is flowing through him, and he's
Ward Phillips, played by Elliot Knight, for the record.
Yeah, so Ward Phillips, when Ward finds Tommy Chong's character, and he's
Ezra.
Ezra, and he's like a fucking ball of energy. He's like coursing through him, and his fucking voice is playing on a loop on the old recording. And
and his body's been mummified. His body's been dead for a long time.
Yeah, or maybe he has. It's just the way time.
Time stops becoming linear, and then when time stops being linear, absolutely nothing. Death stops meaning anything.
Yeah,
it's just so good. It's just so it just had so much fun with the fact that it gave itself such an open playbook, and you don't have to go like, oh, we have to explain it this way or that way. They're like, no, don't worry about that. Everything within a mile of this site is ours to do absolutely anything we want with.
Yeah, and like one thing I liked about this movie as well was the foreshadowing, like that we got to see. We see the little glimpses of purple in the ice cubes, in the water, in something's eyes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think it was the horse. The horse's eyes kind of shone purple for a split second. Like, it's just the little bits of foreshadowing that everybody here and everything here is slowly become contaminated with this alien life force, and it's like it's starting to not only to contort the reality, but it's going to contort them along with it, and or maybe distort, maybe in a better word, but that kind of thing. That that's what I love about it, is just that it builds and builds and builds, and you see these little fucking anomalies appearing everywhere, like in the wildlife or whatever, and see little bits of purple shooting up every now and again. And then as the movie grows, it's like this explosion of purple and this like explosion of alien life form, and the way it starts to control and take over things. And then around that time you see the mother and the son, and they have that fucking big energy burst from the well, because the little boy gets trapped in the well or something, and
traps himself in the well, sort of, doesn't he?
Yeah, does he go down to check something, or he's going?
Yeah, the dog. It's his dog, if I remember correctly. He's and the sister doesn't hear it. So at this point, we're kind of looking at it from her perspective, and he goes, "Wait, no, wait, what? Oh, I can hear you. And it's just obviously, and it's cool because that's good storytelling, because you don't always have to be like, when you get to be the viewer, this fly in the wall, you're always seeing it from whatever perspective you need to be seeing it for it to make the most sense to you. Yeah. But this film kind of said, "Fuck that," a lot of times. And it was like that's the smell at the very start. Like the mayor and the sheriff shows up, and he goes, "That smell? Yeah. It's like somebody set fire to a dog." And the mayor said, "I don't smell anything."
Yeah, yeah.
So it's always like you're outside of it and you're inside of it. So the viewer, I just loved it.
Yeah, because like the mayor wasn't infected, so like, you know what I mean.
Or she was in and out in X amount of time, and that was fine. Yeah, that was very low contamination. And just to put into some terms that we could just understand, let's just say radiation.
Yeah, but they were ingesting it. They were like, they were
growing, it was in the water, yeah.
And they were growing veg and everything there, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
remember,
yeah.
He was see with the tomatoes when he was spitting them out.
Yeah, and he loses his shit, like pure Nicolas Cage. This era with like Maggie and Willy Wonderland and this film and
Mandy.
Mandy, was it Mandy? They've just said, like, let's just make films around Nicolas Cage. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't, like, he didn't show up to audition for this. He didn't. They read that script and somebody just looked, somebody looked at him and said, "You're thinking Nicolas Cage." He goes, "I'm thinking Nicolas Cage." And that was it. Like, there's just no way. It was absolutely made for him.
Yeah, there's no human on earth that was as batshit crazy as the premise of this movie. So like, you had to bring in the Cage, unleash the cage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but
And
like,
this is it. Like, he's the most overrated, underrated actor of all time.
yeah,
I
and
love him.
also the greatest worst actor of all time too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it was just
Yeah.
catered for him. You know, he's kind of like eccentric outbursts. And
Yeah,
of course, it all starts to just make complete sense when everything else stops making sense.
yeah.
Like, what else would there be? Only insanity and grief. His wife, Teresa, starts to kind of succumb to it the most. Why was she the first? What was it she did that kind of sped up her metamorphosis so dramatically? Do you know?
Who, the mother?
The mother.
She was just normal until the energy force exploded out of the well and fused the boy and her together.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, her and the little boy. Yeah,
yeah, they got fused together. That's what sped up their kind of the weird mutation.
And then when she's up in and he's apart. Oh God, that was just great body
horror. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That was great body horror.
So many cool elements of this movie. Like, you know, not only do we have the cool visuals, like, you know, the real stunning eye-catching stuff, but something me and you constantly talk about is our shared love of body horror and practical effects. Man, talk a little bit about the fusion between the mother and the son. This is fucked up, like, you know.
Oh, it's absolutely, completely and totally crazy because they're kind of landed into it really, really quickly, as opposed to that, slowly turning into a vampire thing that you see that, you know,
or
first
the thing prequel when your man gets assimilated slowly from the guy on top of him or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're suddenly left with this, but they are already starting to lose their grip on reality when they're faced with an absolutely awful thing that they had to deal with in a practical sense. You know, they're trying to think like call 911, and you're thinking, what the fuck?
What's 911 going to do? Like,
and the cars not happening. Oh man, I meant to say to you, oh God, it's like at the 58-minute and 19 seconds, like, he just goes, they were supposed to be out hours ago. And I was like, there's no way. And I went back and I went, they were supposed to be done hours ago. And
who's just that? Nick Cage.
It's when the alpacas keep being out. Yeah. Even though he's fed them and he's put them away, and he's fed them and he's putting them away, and they come back and the alpacas are out. And he just goes, they were supposed to be out hours ago. And I was like, that's not English. That's not anything.
Was he not supposed to be over at this stage from the alien?
Maybe so, but it was just so like, you know, everybody, it was just so like Nicolas Cage doesn't do like, you know, two takes.
Yeah. I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. The calculon of our era.
The Cage-icon.
Yeah, the Cage-icon. But oh man, I absolutely. Oh, and the alpaca creature was absolutely phenomenal as well.
Oh man, pure like the thing. Like, man.
100% out of 10.
Yeah,
put a purple filter over it, and exactly, the dog scene. Yeah. Put a purple filter over it, and you got the and
I think we give Richard Stanley the new Thing movie. I think someone should give him the new Thing movie. Like,
you're not wrong.
A lot of people, I think a lot of people think he's a dick or something, but let him have the Thing movie. I think look at the body horror he can do, the visuals, the score. All the things that make the Thing amazing, like all of the little aspects of the Thing that are awesome. The score, the body horror, the suspense horror, the visuals, like all of these things Color Out of Space had, just in a very different color palette. Whereas the Thing was more muted tones, whites, blacks, grays, because it's set in the Antarctic, you know what I mean? Obviously. So, like, you know, so the color palette was completely different, but the fucking elements of the movies are quite similar. Like the body horror, man, the fusion between the mother and the son, where he's kind of almost like a tumor growing over back, not unlike Malignant, but, you know, done properly. But, you know, so like that scene was fucking insane where the son is literally like,
if we just spoiled Malignant for you, you're welcome.
James Wan did that for everyone.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, so like what was your favorite? Like what was the most disgusting? The alpaca monster in the barn?
The mother and the son one
was tormenting.
It was tormenting. Because what would you do when you're faced with it? Like, essentially, you should probably put them out of their misery. But if you didn't stop to think of some way, despite how surreal it is, that you could help, that's what you do. You protect this, and this is your youngest and your wife.
Yeah,
and it's if you don't have like shit, what can I?
And if you're a Mormon, your youngest wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I came at you.
Yeah, and we felt comfortable with that joke because we have a sneaking suspicion that there's not a huge Mormon king in Ireland. But if they are, like, you know, like, sorry, you know,
praise be thy Mormony.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, peace and love. Um, but yeah, no, I just loved everything about that. But that was so heavy, and I think because it was getting so loose with everything, that it needed something real and grief. It needed actual grief in the middle of it, and that lended it to it because it was getting very acid. It was getting acidy, wasn't it? You know, it was just getting very
acid.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Beautifully acidic.
It needed something to ground it, and then again, it couldn't ground it in a normal sense. But it was just beautifully done. It was just an excellent director. I looked up the director there, and he had sort of an abuse allegation against him, and he's filed a counter libel suit. So as far as I'm concerned, I'll let the court, give him the thing. I mean, I'm not going to get involved in the court of public opinion. I don't believe it, except when I do, but I don't. If I'm on the record, I don't.
Yeah, if I like a dude's movies.
Like when I was kind of like when I'm sitting there eating Cheetos, going, he definitely did it. Like everybody else.
Sound like every Polanski fan ever. I'm not going to judge him in the court of opinion. But like the fucking the scene where he brings the daughter in to try feed her to the fused mother-son creature, like that scene's fucked up, man. And that's where we got to see the real ambition of the body horror implemented in this movie, where the mother creature kind of approaches her and it's kind of like leaning over and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Is it Nicolas Cage that kills the mother? Is it he blows her head off? Is he, or is it the guy Ward?
The cop? No way. It's Nicolas Cage that blows the mother's head off. He comes into the room and he does it after originally not being able to do it, bring himself to do it. Then he locks the daughter in there with him when it's all going, like when he's kind of going crazy basically, and then he goes to shoot the water table guy. What was his name? I gave you his name. And the cop shoots him, but that doesn't matter because he's back in the house like a minute later. Oh my god! Like, but nobody got it like the mother and kid. No one got it like the mother and kid, because it's like what happened to the llamas, but they would have had intelligence enough to actually kind of understand how fucking awful what's happening to them actually is.
But man, that fucking scene with the alpacas, I love when movies do that, when you find this happen upon this fucking monstrosity. Like, you know what I mean? Like the part in the thing where they're like, there's something with the dogs, and they all just run down here, and then you just start seeing this, like when they open up that pen and see the thing for the first time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god, man, you know what I mean? Like
and that was it, and that's one of these like watershed moments for me in horror, and you as well.
Of course,
it was just that I was like, that messes with my mind. Like that's not just because like a film that's like every time in any film. A comedy, I don't care, any film. Anytime somebody gets into a car and the camera goes into the car and they're sitting there looking for their phone or something, I'm like, oh, somebody's going to go up and knock on the window very suddenly.
Yeah,
like like it's just or whenever anybody opens a medicine cabinet, don't open medicine cabinets. Don't have medicine cabinets.
Don't have windows on or mirrors on.
Yeah, so that like jump scares, like something like that, they're in everything. Like that's not, everyone associates them to horror. They're not. They're in everything. It's to kind of like get you off your seat a little bit. They're certainly in Marvel and DC films, of course. But this is horror. This was horror. Yeah. This was because it was fucking horrifying.
Yeah, exactly.
And they did that so well, but it didn't. It was coherent and in a way that was completely incoherent, and that doesn't make any sense. But if anybody here, and I suppose if they're listening to this, has seen the film, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like looking at the film, it was coherent incoherence, and that's clever.
Yeah.
If you can pull something like that off, you are a director and you are a good writer. My God, like there's no denying it.
Yeah, it's very hard to kind of capture that unstable mindset. And and that fucking crazed nature, like, and I love the big reveals though, like, like when we got to see the mother-son fusion thing, when they did the reveal after that, like that was fucking insane. The alpaca monsters, they're really fucking cool. One of my favorite scenes though was kind of one of the quieter moments in the movie, was when the dude Ward and the sheriff happen upon they don't really happen upon him because they go up there, they go looking for Nicolas Cage to see what's going on up at the house. And they knock at the door, and he's like, "Oh, come in, everybody's here." She's like, "Where's everybody?" He's like, "Oh, they're right here. What are you talking about?" And he's like, he's gone into such a state of delusion that he thinks he's sitting there with his entire family, and he's like, thinks he's watching TV and shit. And I think it's like, isn't it just static or some shit on the TV? And like, I love that kind of thing where when you go somewhere, like just in the same way when you have this horrific discovery, and how that can really be a scene setter and how it can really jolt you and capturing your attention in the scene. But one thing I love is when you in a moment in the movie or a show or whatever, that when the characters find this guy and he's acting completely sane to himself, but what you see is complete lunacy or just like crazy, like he's just completely crazed. And I love that scene where you just like when someone says something, you go, "Oh shit, something's wrong here," that kind of thing. Like it's kind of like Billy, that whole scene with Billy in Predator when he starts, yeah, you know what I mean. Like so, it's just that kind of thing where you get that moment of dread that's everything's not right. And I thought that scene was really well done.
The one character that seems to be aware that this is all going to get worse.
Yeah.
And that's what Billy was in Predator. He was like, we've only, we see people's skin hanging from trees, but this is only starting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. It is that dread that it gives you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I like the way they did that in this, where to show how far Nicolas Cage was gone with that scene. Where
completely.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, so that's why I love that moment of dread when you have the happenstance characters that are coming on the scene later on. Like, if they make a dreaded discovery or if they come across a character that's completely gone. And it's kind of like when they pick up the hitchhiker in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, and you're just like, you start asking these questions. What happened here? Why does this person think this way? What's going on? And like when you start having like a snowball of questions, like an avalanche almost of questions, that like it really puts you off kilter, and you have to try and adjust the environment you now find yourself in. And I love that when the stories do that. Like, and I thought, like, even though it had all these fucking amazing visuals and really gross, grotesque body horror and some really cool fucking dramatic moments, that like a scene like that really can set the fucking tone that everything's not right here and shit's going down. And I fucking thought that was really, really cool,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you have that's what Nicolas Cage is great at, the high-strung character that was always so close to insanity. Never there, but close. So that when super insanity kicks in, they're able to deal.
Yeah.
And I used to, like, I mean, not to make it a serious thing, but I'm just trying to note that to myself. When I started to suffer with panic attacks and stuff like that, I remember people saying to me, "So you're having one right now?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And they go like, "You don't seem like you are." And I was like, "That's because I've had a lot of them." Like, trust me, trust me.
Yeah.
It's just
like
that I've been here. I hate it here.
I'm always anxious.
I'm always. Here's the thing you don't know about me, Vinny.
What's that, Noel?
And what do I turn in? I'm always angry. Then I just like Noel. I grow big and pink, and I just turn up.
You're just like a big fluffy Noel. Yeah, you can't even hold your own weight up because your legs and you just like slump down. I'm sad.
The sulk. That's it. The sulk. Yeah, I love it.
The sulk sad.
Sulk sad. That's it. And sulk sad.
Okay.
That's a t-shirt. That's a t-shirt.
So, but like, what did you think of one scene that really kind of annoyed me? Because we're kind of gushing all over this movie, is I'm so sick of the scene of the person that's kind of vacant and they're slowly chopping vegetables, normally always a carrot, and they chop and chop and chop.
Yeah, something to chop. See, a carrot carrot you have to chop.
Yeah,
you don't slice it. It's chop. Yeah, and it's the shape of a finger. It's got a little bit of crunch and density to it. If you were, like a chicken you carve or a potato you peel, but this, of course, it's always a fucking carrot, and they're chopping.
Yeah, that's like a film that's so original, like, and so fucking cool the way like it does the quiet moments and the gore and all this fucking shit that we talk about. I am so fucking fed up with these fucking cutting carrots and chopping your fingers off because you're vacant and you're losing it. That shit really fucking annoys me. I'm just
throwing out now a pair of rankers, another segment we're doing. We're doing one on tropes. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Least favorite tropes. Things that films just keep fucking having, and that is definitely something that's coming up in the future here.
Probably in a couple of weeks, because
absolutely, because it's a good one. You're absolutely right. There's something that you see that no matter how good a film it's in, the second I see them going for a fresh start, and there's a sulking teenage girl who's 25, so I can say she's hot, and she's like, I didn't want to leave my friends, and there's a younger kid who's a boy who's actually okay with it because he's a sweetheart, and then God, every time, it doesn't matter how good the film ends up being, that puts me in such a sour fucking mood, because it's just one time too many.
Like
about 20 years ago, it was one time too many, and I just increasingly hated it ever since.
Yeah, that just annoyed me of a movie that's so original to have that fucking like I'm so fucking done with those kind of scenes, but it's a nitpicky fucking thing like to talk about. You know
Well,
what I mean?
no, that's great. No, but it's nitpicky, but you know what? And it is, and it's nitpicky, and it's you know what else it is? It's a pet peeve.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's something that annoyed you that didn't necessarily annoy.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, I didn't even really think of it much. Like,
Yeah.
she chops off, and she doesn't get one; she gets two fingers.
Yeah, she keeps
Like
going.
she chops.
Chopper.
She keeps going.
She's like
but,
a one-stop shop for everything that goes chop, chop, chop.
Oh.
So no, right? Like we fucking been gushing all over Color of Space. We both love it. We both love it for all the reasons we talk about, like, and rightly so. But before I let you get the fuck out of here, talk to me, motherfucker. What's the last impressions that Color of Space and obviously Nicolas Cage left on you?
It is that it is where I just realized I don't really have mainstream tastes necessarily. You know, as much as I love Marvel and stuff, these are the films I want to see more of. Like, these are the films I end up gushing over. They're just the ones that just captivate me. They're the ones where I end up, you know, if you're watching it in the theater, if you're watching it in cinema, then you shut up and watch it because that's the way. But you know, when you're watching something at home, even a good film, especially if you're watching it with your partner, the person you're most comfortable with, you end up kind of going, "Oh, I like this. Oh, did you see that?" You know, you talk a little bit. But I remember just with the first time I watched this, you're just kind of like, you get lost in it for like 20, 30, 40 minutes because it's so enthralling. It's so kind of, it's so captivating. You know, it's like when you it's like a lava lamp or something. Do you ever find yourself staring at something like that? Then you get lost in it for a second. You know, it's like, it does that to you in a story mode. Yeah. And it's just great. And I realized that I love stuff like that. Like, I absolutely love it. I wish more films were like that. But the reason that they aren't is that when they make them, they're often shit. It's very, at the end of it, you kind of go, well, that made no sense. We talk about an absolutely fucking shocking film, and doesn't really fall into this, but I'm going to say it anyway. And it was like Salem or whatever by your favorite director,
Lords of Salem. Yeah,
and it was trying to have this like, are we back? Is this the future? Is this the back? You know, like, well, here's a scene. Oh, is this already happened? And I was just like, no, this is absolutely fucking stupid.
High concept, terrible execution.
Exactly, high concept, terrible execution, and that's why a lot of people would look at scripts. And I'm sure if they're like, I'm going to give you this much money and I expect this much money back, I understand it's a business, but you'd look at it and go, no, this is too complicated. Like this, you need to trim this back. So when somebody's able to execute this at that level so well, honest to God, I feel like it was tailor-made for me. Yeah, that's what I love about films like this. I get lost in them. I end up thinking about them afterwards. I end up watching them a whole bunch of times. I do. I just feel like it's like a very mild high. You know what I mean? Itself. Yeah. So I love it. What about you, man? Before we get out of here.
Yeah, man. Like anything that comes together so beautifully in terms of the visuals always catches my eye. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and anything that has a really, really, really cool score, really intense score, or really trippy score always catches my attention. Something like Sputnik. Like, you know,
check.
Yeah, you know what I mean? When we watch Sputnik, that's another film that I felt as well. Like when you're talking about, you think of like
Russian film, watch Sputnik.
When you talk about when you watch a movie and it feels almost bespoke, like that, it's absolutely tailor fit for you. And Sputnik gave me that kind of thing that really paired its cool visuals with its music really well, not to the same extent or to a totally different degree than Color Out of Space, but I did it to equal effective levels of effectiveness. And for me, Color Out of Space checks all the boxes for me because I love Nicolas Cage. I watch him in anything. I don't care. That's just a total side note. But like what Richard Stanley did here, this is the movie that a lot of people thought when the book was came out for a long, long time that would be unfilmable, that be never be able to be transported to the screen. And the way he's transported is absolutely fucking incredible. Like, apart from the crazy cheesiness, and you're always going to get that with a Nick Cage movie and a bit over the top acting, and sometimes Jodie Richardson's a bit wooden in it. All these things are true. But in terms of the total package, the visuals, the score, the special effects, the practical effects, the body horror, the creature designs, everything fucking top notch. Cannot recommend it highly enough. Great fucking movie.
Yeah, and you know what? But it has to be your taste, doesn't it? I don't think anyone could come out of it. Well, of course, no, it's definitely not films for everyone.
Yeah,
I think if you were told going in, look, this, if you like this and you like this and you like this, and it does appeal to you, like it's Lovecraftian.
Yeah,
it's a modern telling, and that relies heavily on visuals to tell a story. All three things are just factually true, and that appeals to you. Then you really should enjoy this film. I mean,
Yeah.
that is the premise that it operates on, and I think it operates within it in absolute excellent style.
Yeah,
That's all I have to say.
Do you want we get the fuck out of here, dude?
Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, so like of all the movies that I've seen recently, this is definitely one that I've watched more often than most. And like simply because of how visually stunning it is, I think like I'm going to be watching this movie a fucking shit ton more. Like
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it just fucking flows and flies by. But yeah, motherfuckers, let's get the fuck out of here. So that was Invasion of Potty Snatchers. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, John Tui.
And that was The Color Out of Space.
Purple. Purple was the
purple.
purple. It was purple.
It was purple, folks. See you next
Yeah.
time. Peace. Say peace, no.
Oh, peace.